Alright, so we both know why you're here, and listen, I totally get it. 6.0 Stygian Onslaught is by far the most difficult we have had to date. I mean, I've also been beaten by it a few times now, and I have to say, f this guy in particular. So without the fluff, here's what I've learned so far and what you probably need to clear. If you're new here, I'm Limbo, the guy that has daily in-game clears, and this is why I think that even your account can clear Luna I's Stygian Onslaught. Alright, let's start with the Aeonblight Drake. Alright, so some basic information. If you let the Drake fly, you've already lost the fight. In this version, instead of having to hit weak points to knock him out of the air, you have to stagger him to keep him from going into the air in the first place. And the way that you stagger him is by reaching the breakpoint at each quarter of his health. The real challenge is he becomes almost invulnerable to the element that did the most damage in the previous quarter, which makes it sound really complicated, but it isn't when you realize it's just another DPS jack. But the caveat is that you have to play teams completely differently. This might actually be one of the most unfun teams I have ever played. You've probably heard that you have to play 2 main DPSs to get through this chamber, but what does that really mean? Let me break it down for you. If you can't clear this boss, it's likely one of 2 things. Either your elemental damage output is too lopsided, or your characters simply lack investment. See, this boss actually allows you the most creativity out of the 3. Take, for example, the 2 best performing archetypes. One is where you have 2 buffers that buff 2 different elemental carries, while they also have some synergy with each other. The second being teams that naturally deal multiple sources of elemental damage, preferably if they're able to lean into one or the other more depending on how you play. Since your main source of damage has to swap every single quarter, most team archetypes are going to fit under one of those 2 categories. But thankfully, a lot of teams can fit into that description. You have Varesa's free-to-play teams, you have the Mavuika Mualani setup, and even Scourge teams do very well. And notice how none of those teams have any overlap? That's just how much variety you have here. And you've probably thought to yourself at this point, why hasn't he mentioned Chaska? She naturally does multiple sources of elemental damage. And her kit does seem perfect at first, but you have to realize there is no way to play around with which type of elemental damage you're dealing. And before that, she's not all that strong to begin with, so it puts her in a really bad position. Regardless, keep in mind that if you still aren't clearing, every account is unique. So where Mavuika Overload might work, you might have C2 to C3 Raiden, and that would work quite well in the Overload teams. Or maybe for Skirk Double Hydro, you don't have Yolana or Furina available, but maybe your Skirk is really good and your Sing Cho is still good enough to pass by. Actually, if you don't have Skirk Premium, here's a clear I did using Ayato. Oh, and here's a great tip. Before the Drake resistances actually go up, it will play a stagger animation after it's past the quarter mark. So if you're playing a character that can dish out a lot of damage very quickly, you can take advantage of this by pushing it significantly past the quarter mark for the potentially weaker characters to get through. It is very important though that you wait until after the animation begins. If you get it to say 76% and then hit it for 10 million damage, it'll only go down to 75%. And here's a quick example on how to execute that.
Busted. Fearless. Paradigm shift. Here comes the catch. Quietly now. Rain outlines your fate.
Now, with all of those concepts in mind, here are some of the teams I've used to clear with, all of which aren't using any 5-star constellations or signature weapons. And if you really can't figure out which team to use, you can always just slide over to twitch.tv/limbosauce to ask me for help. Let me get this out of the way first. Lauma absolutely destroys this boss, working as the strongest Dendro player in the game at worst, and one-shotting the boss at best. Now, the one-shot tech is a lot less complicated than you might think, but if you're not interested in that, you can skip to this time. But if you're still here, that means you want to run Waidsith on Lauma, you're looking to snipe the EM roll. If you can't be bothered, you can just run another crit weapon instead. You want an EM Sands and Goblet with a crit circlet, and yes, your crit stats really do matter, you want that 1-to-2 ratio. And then a 2-piece of any EM or ER. There is a new 4-piece DPS set that would work great theoretically, but doesn't always trigger in this combo. Make sure you're running I Know for the Ascendant Gleam buffs. You want another Dendro unit, primarily for the particles and for Favonius. And for the 4th slot, you want either Lisa, Razor, Diona C6, or Mona, bonus points if she's C4. And for the supports, you really want the Silken Song set and Deepwood. And putting all of that together, it gives you this.
With one heart, we pray. Sharing my knowledge. I see everything. Written in the stars. Lush as the moonlight.
This technique is so powerful that you can still pull it off with a few things from the list missing, but even without the actual one-shot, you still do get a second opportunity to do this tech later in the chamber, and it would be genuinely hard to not kill it doing this twice. And since you can run so many characters as Llama supports in this tech, it allows you to effectively clear up any good supports you would be running otherwise and use them on other chambers. But if you don't want to one-shot it, you can play Llama in standard Bloom teams, and she is a significant upgrade over every other option. For double Hydro Hyperbloom, Alhaitham teams, Nilou teams, or just about any good Bloom team, it's gonna wipe. Also, note that anytime you trigger a Bloom reaction, it will give you a Verdant Dew. On Llama, it's the little things on the left of her menu. And as long as you have at least one Verdant Dew, hold E's for Llama will count as Lunar Bloom damage, which will blow up all seeds around her. And doing that allows you to instantly destroy the initial shield, which is much more comfortable than pretty much everybody else besides Nilou. Now, if you don't have Llama, do not worry. That glazed her really hard, rightfully so, but after the shield, this guy is by far the squishiest of the three, meaning as long as you have blooms, a lot of stuff will fly. I mean, you can do Varesa with bloom, you can do Nouvelette with bloom, you can do Chlorend with bloom, and the budget Nilou bloom teams, Alhaitham teams, and even the Nahida teams still do pretty well. If your characters are very well invested, you can technically clear it with an all 4-star Hyperbloom team. Just keep in mind all reaction triggers should be level 90, but honestly you're probably better off brute forcing it most of the time. And besides that, pretty much anything goes, besides Pyro, because those blow the seeds up and then those blow you up. If you're here specifically for this boss, my condolences. Take a seat, grab a drink, and let's get revenge on this guy. So what makes the Shock Trooper so strong? To start, he has the most health out of any boss we have ever had in Stygian. He has a quickly regenerating shield that is highly resistant to everything but Electro, and to top it all off, that shield doesn't take into account the damage amp of using Vapor Melt reactions. Bottom line, if you can't clear that shield, you are cooked. So let's look at the best and most common ways to tackle it. First, this chamber intentionally very heavily shills Inefa and Flins. Both the boss and the shield have low electro resistance, and the shield takes increased damage to Lunar Charge. This boss is designed for them, and Inefa does great, by the way. You can use her in any of these teams and she will perform excellent. And generally, she's going to be the best sub DPS for any of the given teams. Now, let's talk about Flins a little bit. Even though this boss is designed to shield the main mechanic that Flins uses, he feels mediocre at best here. If you have Inefa with Flins, it's gonna be easy, it's a walk in the park, you're gonna win. But unfortunately, Flins has so few good support options right now that if you don't have Inefa specifically, he loses a large portion of his damage, and he doesn't have other great supports to make up for that loss yet. And right now it's bad enough that if you don't have Inefa and you don't have vertical investment, you might genuinely struggle to clear with Flins. The result of that is that you're significantly better off playing pretty good carries that can use Inefa versus playing Flins without Inefa. The second method that a lot of vertical investors are going to use is to just brute force through the shield. It does take very strong teams, but for example, Skirk's Premium can just do enough damage to counteract the heal. And Skirk also isn't the only one that can do this. Mavuika, for example, when buffed properly and with enough red shred, can do it semi-comfortably. An exception that actually does great here is Varesa Overload. She is probably the easiest character to brute force with without utilizing Electrocharge. The best part of the strategy is that since it takes so much damage to beat that shield, generally beating the shield means that you do more than enough damage to comfortably kill the boss. I expect most people are going to end up relying on this third option. Any team that can trigger Electrocharge frequently while still doing good damage has a good chance of passing the shield. So once again, ditch that Raiden and make way for the best undisputed Electro carry in the game, Varesa. She is the highest personal damage electro carry of the bunch, even beating out Chlorend, and she also has some very good taser teams. Chlorend is still a passable option, by the way, just not that good. And Raiden, that wasn't slander, she's genuinely very bad on this boss. Her skill can't proc on the shield, so she doesn't get any energy at all. But if you don't have that, teams like Nouvelette, Chaska, Arlecchino, or even Mavuika Overvape still can do very well. The thing that matters most is that you are triggering Electrocharge frequently, so for Arlecchino and Mavuika, make sure that you are running a very rapid Electro, and Hydro Applier. It's once again worth mentioning, Inefa makes all of these teams significantly better. Without her or the carries being very invested, the sheer amount of health this guy has will require these teams to be played to their absolute best ability. So good luck, and if you're looking for a framework on how to play any of the teams I've mentioned, you can always look up to see how other people played and cleared using these teams. Or just ask me on stream, I don't know, at twitch.tv/simosauce. I'll leave you guys with a few showcases of me using not so great teams to clear the Stygian. Hopefully that'll be enough to give you guys a good idea of how to play these teams, and check the timestamps because your team might be in there.
Burn it! Quick as a flash!
Target acquired.
Light it up! Control breathing! Light up the blazing sun!
Locked on. Shadow of the past, mind to command.
Your soul! Burn it down! On my rise with the sun! Pyroclastic surge! Quick as a flash! Incinerate! Rev the engines! Light up the blazing sun! Burn it down! Faster! Stronger!
I got him cornered. For the Lord of the Night.
Glory to which none can compare! Rise with the sun! Wrath from the sky! Stop right there! Faster! Stronger! On my... Hero incoming! Boost! Look out below! Charge! Yeah! Headbutt! Afterstrike can't get you! Charge! But it's justice o'clock! Yeah! Hands where I can see 'em! Quick as a flash! Start! Nice and swift! Yeah! Look out below! It's justice o'clock! Yeah! Wow, wow! Justice will prevail! At the frying pan! Faster! Stronger! Charge! Yeah! Headbutt! Hero incoming! Yeah! Boost! Charge! You asked for it! You're toast! Nice and spicy! Kapow! Let's... Yeah! Headbutt! It's justice o'clock! Yeah! Quiet. Rain outlines your...
Propagate! Scatter!
A bond is struck!
Terminate!
Witness the power. Game's up. Fun's over. Gotcha. Busted. Lightning purified. Gotcha. No, my sword. Let me read. These are about to get dicey. A bond is strong.
Propagate!
Out of my way.
What? Scatter!
Busted.
Spring forth! Propagate!
Gotcha. Ring cutter. Game's up. Fun's over.
Terminate!
Quietly now. Gotcha. Stand with me. Busted. Here comes the cash. Witness the power of the wild. Out of my way. Gotcha.
Use of force authorized.
Warn
you!
Stronger. Start them. Charge. Headbutt. Height. Ding dong. Hero incoming. Yeah. You on this? Let's animal test 60. Charge. Yeah.